living longer, living healthier, living better than ever before. Welcome to Mountain Pacific's Healthy Living for Life, a weekly series that gives you the information, education, and expert insight you need to become an active participant in today's ever-changing healthcare climate. Here now is today's program host.
For some, working after retirement sounds like an oxymoron, but for about 1 in every 4 people of retirement age, it's life. Whether it's a paying job or volunteerism, staying active and social in your retirement years has a lot of benefits, but you also don't want to shoot yourself in the foot financially. Welcome to Healthy Living for Life, a show dedicated to helping you do just that. I'm your host, Jacob Churchill, and today we're talking about the pros and cons of returning to work after retirement. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Healthy Living for Life. Joining us today is McKinley Winkle, Vice President and Director of Chamber Engagement and Community Advocacy for the Helena Area Chamber of Commerce. Thanks for joining us today, McKinley.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Absolutely. Now, a lot of us have heard that the magic age for retirement is 65 years. Should people retire at 65, or are there benefits to working longer than that?
They definitely don't have to retire at 65. It's definitely a goal, but if you want to work till you're 105, you can absolutely do so. Just kind of depends on you, and if you really love your job and you don't want to leave, you absolutely don't have to. But I think a lot of people shoot for that 65-year mark.
Okay. Do most people need to work after retirement, or is it possible to live comfortably without working?
It's definitely possible to live comfortably without working, but it really, again, depends on the individual and how much they put into retirement while they were working. They've done a good job saving to set them up for success. It's definitely possible, but it's not always doable if you aren't planning ahead.
I see. And what are some of the benefits to going back to work after retirement?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite questions to be asked. I think a lot of people think that you go back to work for the money, but a lot of times retirees go back to the workforce for those non-economic factors. So being able to be social and being in the know of the community and know what's going on, be able to interact with other people and be able to do something that gives back to the community. Okay.
Can you share some of the possible disadvantages of trying to return to work?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, if you retire for a reason. You probably don't want to work 40 or more hours a week, and you probably had a higher stress job. Working for your whole life is quite the task.
Right.
So retiring, you want to have that free time, and going back to work, you kind of lose some of that. But it depends on what you go back to work for. If it's something that you're really passionate about, it doesn't have to be necessarily work.
Okay. Do you have any tips for maybe how an older person could get back into the workforce after retiring?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's plenty of online networks that you can get plugged into, the job service, your local chamber. Something that we do here in Helena and is being adopted across the state with other chambers and other organizations is we host a free retiree brunch. So we invite retirees to come hear from employers in the area and really make a personal connection so they know what opportunities are out there in the area. So I would just encourage people to get involved with your local community resources and really see if they can help make connections for you.
Okay. And would you say that there are any environments or specific jobs that are maybe more suitable for an older person returning to work?
Yeah, I think it really, again, depends on the individual and what you're interested in doing. A lot of jobs that I see, and one of my favorite gigs that we've been able to help match retirees with is watering flowers at Home Depot. And that's something that you can do seasonally. So seasonal jobs are a really great opportunity, especially for those if you retire. If I retired, I would want to be a snowbird. I wouldn't want to be in Montana for the winters. I'd want to fly south for the winter.
Right.
So you can have seasonal work such as those things. A lot of people also work in retirement homes. So then that way they can work in the dining services, and it really builds that camaraderie as well with the residents and the workers. So that's another really awesome opportunity. A lot of employers are super flexible with their part-time and flexible work opportunities. Admin jobs are also a really great opportunity, answering phone calls, doing filing. So those are some more of the more steady going back to work for part-time.
Gotcha. What about opportunities for working from home? Does that make sense for people at a retirement age?
Yeah, it definitely can. I think that there's a lot of opportunities, especially right now with remote work, is call centers. That's something that's been hot and in the news lately, especially in the remote work era. So I think that that's a really great opportunity. If people like to talk on the phone and have knowledge and are decent with technology, I think that's a really great opportunity as well. And you can kind of make your own hours with that.
Okay, great. Now, there may be some people out there who want to do something different professionally than they have done up to this point. Could a person start a brand new career at 65 years?
Yeah, absolutely. You can be 65 years old and still not know what you want to be when you grow up. And that's totally okay, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Again, it's really just based on the individual and what kind of work you want to go back into. If there's a hobby that you've always wanted to pursue and never got a chance to, like let's say you've always wanted to learn how to fly fish and you've worked in tech your whole life, but now you want to work at a fly shop and learn about the different gear and how to use flies and what's great in what season, that could be a really great opportunity for someone to try something new.
Fantastic. What about going back to school? Is that really common for senior adults to further their education after retiring?
Yeah, I think it's a decent common thing.
Really?
I know that a lot of local community colleges and as well as universities, you can either pay for classes. You could either get a degree and go back and get your degree, or a lot of colleges offer non-credit courses. So you can go, and if you're interested in history, you can go and sit in and take a history class just for the heck of it. And there's a lot of continuing ed opportunities, and in some communities there's adult learning centers where you can either take an Excel class or a photography class or a wine tasting class.
Oh, wow, that all
That
sounds
would be the one I would want to take.
Right? Well, we're almost out of time for this part here. Do you have anything you want to add about going back to work or school after retirement?
Yeah, I think the one thing that I would add is that the retiree workforce, they're aging out, and there's so much knowledge that's in that group of individuals, and I think that they have a lot to offer the workforce community still. And so I think that if someone is thinking about going back to work, I think there's a really awesome opportunity for mentorship for that younger generation as well as we start to build up our workforce.
All right, that all sounds fantastic. Thank you so much, McKinley. We need to take a break, but coming up next, financial considerations and how working after retirement can affect your health and retirement benefits. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're still talking with McKinley Winkle from the Helena Area Chamber of Commerce. Thanks again for sticking with us, McKinley.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about income limits and how working after retirement can affect benefits. How much does the average retired person need to live comfortably after retirement?
Yeah, so retirement livability is definitely based off of your needs and your lifestyle and how luxurious you want to live after retirement, or if you're going to keep your same lifestyle. Regardless of your unique goals, a good rule of thumb is to save enough to sustain your current lifestyle, but this can change based on several factors. But a good rule of thumb is to save around 80 to 90% of what your average income would have been.
Okay. For many of us, the likelihood of retiring with $1 million, which is an often quoted figure for retirement, seems kind of slim. For those who may need or want to get a job to continue working, what is considered a good income to have after retirement?
Yeah, so like many of these answers, it really depends on the individual and what your lifestyle is going to look like post-retirement. So an example would be if you want to stay around $50,000 per year and you currently have around $10K saved up, you would want to earn around $28 to $30K a year just to keep around that same income. But that also includes your Social Security benefits, which would be around $20K annually based on the average benefit amount. So that can fluctuate, depend on how much you put into retirement, when you're retired, and other factors.
Okay. What should people consider when thinking about looking for or taking a part-time job versus working full-time?
Yeah, absolutely. So this again, that'll be my answer for most of the answers. Depends on the individual, right? There's no cookie cutter approach or answer to any of these. But if they're wanting to do post-retirement, so if they are wanting to do post-retirement as well as if they're younger than the full retirement age, it depends on whether they're receiving their benefits or whether they're not. So when you begin receiving your Social Security retirement benefits, you're considered retired for the purpose of the Social Security Administration, but you can still get your benefits and work at the same time. There's not necessarily a limit on how much you work. It's a matter of your earnings and if you receive those full benefits.
Okay, and speaking of some of those benefits, does working after retirement affect any Social Security benefits?
It does, and as stated in the question before, it kind of depends on when you retire, whether you retire before 65 or whether you retire after. Right. So it depends on your age and whether you're starting to receive those benefits or not. But it doesn't really depend on hours, but more so your earnings and how much you're bringing in and where at in the year you turned retirement age and how much you earned before that. So it really just depends on the individual.
Okay. Are there certain rules or limits to how much a person can work after retirement?
Not necessarily. You can do part-time, full-time. Again, it kind of goes back to that last question of how much you're making, what age you're at, and where at in the year you retired and started to receive some of those benefits.
Okay. What about Medicare coverage? If I'm making good money after retirement, will I be penalized for that?
It's always a smart idea to talk with your employer about your benefits or your local benefits admin to see how their retiree coverage works with Medicare. And then from there, talking with your local professionals about what plans are available. Again, it kind of just depends on the individual and what the benefits are at the place that you are working currently, wanting to work, and where you have worked in the past.
Okay. Now, what about pensions and retirement accounts? Will those be affected if people choose to continue working or to go back to work?
Each pension is so different, and it's important to really look at the details. And if you have any questions, really talking to your past employers and your current employers, just since every employer is a little bit different on how they do that.
Gotcha. What is the average 401k balance for a 65-year-old?
So for a 65-year-old, it's around $200,000 as the average, but the median is only $43K.
Okay, could you kind of explain that a little more or extrapolate as to?
Yeah, definitely. So there's some people that put in a little bit more into their retirement and do a little bit better job planning. They may have started putting into their 401k when they started working in their early 20s, and so they have a lot more built up, and some of them might have waited until they were 30, 35, 40, and they're like, oh shoot, I probably want to start thinking about retirement. And so it just really depends on the individual and how much they started to plan and how much they contribute. And also if your employer does do a 401k match, that's always something smart to look for an employer that are willing to help you set your life up for success post-work.
Absolutely. And how much can a retired person earn without having to pay taxes?
Yeah, so this is a really interesting question because it really depends on how you file. Whether you're filing as a single retiree, if you're married and filing jointly, or if one spouse is older than 65 and one spouse is younger than 65. The best suggestion for any of these questions is to check out the Social Security Administration website. And if you need clarification, especially when it comes to taxes, talking to your local tax professional, especially someone that you know you can trust, and they'll be more than happy to help guide you through that.
Okay. Now, we've been talking a lot about some of the ways people are affected financially by working after retirement, but what are some of the financial benefits to working after retirement age?
Yeah, so it's extra income, so you can really expand your lifestyle and how you want to live that life, whether you have grandkids across the state or if you have a condo in Florida, let's say. It just really depends on what you want that to look like. So being able to have that extra income will allow you to do some more of those things. It'll also allow you, more time on the golf course. You can buy more rounds on the golf course, buy new clubs. That's what I would do.
Of course.
Yes.
Well, unfortunately, we need to pause for another break, but when we come back, we will discuss volunteering during the golden years. So please stay with us. Welcome back. Still with us is McKinley Winkle from the Helena Area Chamber of Commerce, and now we are talking about volunteering after retirement. So let's get right into it. Can you tell us what percentage of retirees volunteer?
Yeah, absolutely. So some stats show that seniors age 65 or older volunteer at a rate of around 24%, and more than 6 out of 10 adults age 55 or older are involved in some sort of volunteer activity. But as you get older, those numbers actually tend to increase. So those 75 plus that aren't working, their percentage jumps to 44%. And those that are 75 plus that are working, that number is actually closer to 67.
Interesting. So people are more likely to volunteer after retirement if they're also working. Is that right?
Yes, definitely. So there's really a sense of giving back to the community since they've retired and are back in the workforce anyways. And a lot of employers provide opportunities for their employees to volunteer in the community. And so that adds a little bit extra to it as well. Wow,
that's great. Now, why should retired adults volunteer? What are some of the health or social benefits to doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that I think about it is that not just retired adults should volunteer. I think that everybody should have some way, shape, or form that they give back to their community. But thinking about the retiree population, they worked almost their whole life in the community or in a community of sorts. And so being able to give back to their community now that they're able to actually enjoy it, I think is a huge benefit. If you're able to have time to enjoy it, you want it to be something that you're proud of and something that's fun for you to be a part of.
Absolutely.
There's also a ton of health benefits about making connections and being physically active. It helps to lower stress levels, it boosts confidence, helps improve your sleep quality, which is actually super awesome.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah, well, I mean, using your brain a little bit more throughout the day and giving back to the community, you feel a little bit more at peace with yourself, so maybe that gives you a little bit better night's sleep, but it keeps your mind moving and lower stress, and you get to make some new friends, and I think it's really awesome to come together for the same goal with like-minded people, and that shows to have some really rewarding benefits.
Wow, I should say so. It sounds like there's a number of health benefits and to volunteering after retirement. But what are some of the things that retirees should consider before deciding to volunteer?
Yeah, absolutely. So you don't want to do something that would compromise your health, especially if you left the workforce because you aren't able to move as well anymore. But you also really want to think about how much time you want to be dedicated towards volunteering, where and when, and kind of what you want those hours to look like and time of day. And I mean, you just want to do something that you're passionate about and that won't stress you out, because that's the reason why you retired.
Right. Now, how will a person know if they're volunteering in the right place for their needs?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, you never really know unless you try. But I would be sure to be involved in something that you're really passionate about and really look at the missions and values of the organizations before you decide on one. If you're giving back, you want to give back to something that you truly believe is special and that you want to have a part of and really hang your hat on at the end of the day. So if you're volunteering for something that you don't believe in, or if you want to go to the Humane Society and you're allergic to dogs, might not be the best spot for you. So really finding something that fits your personality and your values.
Okay. Now, what about age limits? Is there anything stopping someone, 90 plus years old from volunteering in their community?
No, not at all. There is no age limits to volunteering. You can volunteer as young as you want to and as old as you want to. You can be 112 and still volunteering, or you can be 3 tagging along with your parents, picking up trails.
All right. Now, what are some of the best volunteer opportunities for older adults, and where are volunteers most needed?
Yeah, absolutely. So Senior Corps is a really awesome opportunity, and there's tons of different connections that you can make in those groups, and those are generally local chapters. There's also local or national charities. So there's a ton of nonprofits and communities, and a lot of times you don't necessarily know who or what those are. So really building connections in the community is a great way to find out what those are. Local, state, or national parks are also a really awesome opportunity to volunteer. Food delivery services like Meals on Wheels, that's a really large corporation and a place for people to volunteer. I know that it's in many communities across the state. Animal shelters, community gardens, and even childcare. We know that childcare shortages are a thing in our communities, and no better person to hold babies and love on little kids than grandmas. So that could be a really awesome opportunity to go and work in a daycare a couple days a week, whether it's just volunteering or whether it's work. There are also programs for seniors who may need a little extra help, whether it's grocery shopping, cleaning your house, prepping meals. So that's a great way along like working in a retirement home where you can help somebody and start to build friendships as well while you're volunteering and really build that camaraderie.
Wow, it sounds like there are just an overwhelming number of organizations that are looking for volunteers to help out. Is there like a database or a website somewhere that people could go to look up volunteer opportunities in their areas?
Yeah, absolutely. So Volunteer Match Online is a great start, and it goes based off of your location and your community that you're in. So that plugs you into resources and other people that might be able to help you make connections and build connections if there aren't already opportunities on there. But if you're looking for something in person, your local senior center generally has some opportunities and available connections. Here in Helena, we have Rocky Mountain Development Council, and other communities have counterparts as well. But if you don't know who those partners are in your community, a great place to start is your local chamber. They usually have pretty good relationships with nonprofits in the area and are able to kind of direct you to where you may need to go if you're unsure where to start.
All right. Now, we all know that as we age, generally, our bodies don't work quite as well as they might have used to when we were younger. What about people who might not have the mobility that they had when they were younger? Are there still volunteer opportunities for those individuals?
Yeah, absolutely. There's opportunities for anyone and everyone, despite your mobility level, your skill level. There are actually an example in Helena is there's a wonderful group of ladies that actually make baby blankets for those that are in the Navy and they have pregnant wives at home.
Oh, wow.
So that's not a ton of movement, and if you have a skill or a craft like that, being able to give back to the community in that aspect, whether you're making blankets for the Humane Society or giving back to local nonprofits or donating. There are also lower movement volunteer opportunities such as answering the phone at your local visitor center, filing for a local business, reading to kids, and more. Like many volunteer opportunities, it's based on the individual and how they want to volunteer and where they want to volunteer. Even for those that may be involved in their local faith-based communities, being a greeter at your church, it may be something small but could go a long way. So it's really about what you're interested in and what your volunteer capacity may be and where you feel like you can make a difference.
Okay. Now, people who are of retirement age, they've been spending, sometimes years or decades in their field of work, learning so much. Is there opportunities, local opportunities for like mentorships for younger adults who may be trying to get into the same industry?
Yeah, absolutely. I know that in Helena we have this program that's actually expanded across the state, which is super awesome. It's called AJ Montana. So it's a Montana-wide nonprofit, and there's opportunity for students that go through a summer job or internship, and they get community mentors that may have been in that industry or someone to really bounce ideas off of and really think about their career paths. So that is a great way to get plugged in. And there's many other opportunities like that in different communities and multiple in communities. There's also opportunities to be a foster grandparent in communities where you can take in a kid that may not have grandparents or may not have that awesome of a home life and really take them in and mentor them personally and professionally and help them to start to build up their confidence and their career pathways and see what makes a difference in their life and be a part of that. Other opportunities could be tutoring. At other community colleges or even high schools, I think that tutoring is a really awesome opportunity for mentorship, especially if you've had so much knowledge in your career field. Being able to give that back to the next generation of the workforce is pretty powerful.
Absolutely, without a doubt. Now, we all know that people who are retiring, they like to travel. That's one of the things that we look forward to as we get older and get closer to that age. But some of those people may also want to volunteer while they're traveling. Is that a possibility? Yeah,
absolutely. So there's definitely such thing as travel volunteerism. This could include charity work, supporting children in an orphanage, help building houses or schools, environmental projects, teaching English at a foreign place. You could also look into volunteering at the local food pantry wherever you're at and looking into local events. There's always something going on in any community that you're in. So being able to talk to those local entities such as the city or the chamber or any other organizations that you could find in your community, there's always a way to get plugged in and involved.
Fantastic. Well, we are actually just about out of time for today, McKinley. Was there anything else that you wanted to share with us? Any tips or ideas about volunteering or anything else that we've talked about this episode?
Yeah, I think that if you are out of the workforce and you're thinking about volunteering, you should absolutely do it. There's no better way to meet people and stay engaged than being with people that are like-minded and coming together for a great cause and volunteering in your local community. And then the last thing that I would add is just thank you for having me today. This was super fun.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you for watching at home. Join us next week. And until then, please stay fit, stay well, and stay healthy for life with Healthy Living for Life.
Healthy Living for Life is brought to you by Mountain Pacific Quality Health. We'd love to hear from you. If you have suggestions for future programs, visit our website at mpqhf.org or call us at 406-443-4020. You can also catch us on YouTube by visiting our website and clicking on the Healthy Living for Life logo. Production facilities provided by Video Express Productions.